I think having a collective group with you along the way that understands what you're doing is huge as well. Like we could have just tried to get a whole new friend group that was maybe more in tune with real estate or more along the lines of where we wanted to go, but we brought our friends up with us, and I think that was huge for all of us.
Welcome to the Boise REIN Show, your destination for creating wealth through connections in real estate and business. Are you looking to become a real estate professional? Do you want to start your own successful real estate business? Well, I'm your host, Matt Osojnicki. Join us as we learn from the brightest minds, industry leaders, and experienced professionals, equipping you with the knowledge and confidence needed to make informed decisions and thrive in the ever-changing real estate landscape. Your journey starts now. Welcome back to the Boise REIN Show. I'm your host, Matt Osojnicki, and today I'm very honored to have this very special guest with us. Her name is Kyli Osojnicki, and what she is going to talk about today is a thing that I feel I'm very passionate about, and I feel is one of the most important things you have, and that's building great partnerships. And I'm lucky enough that she is my wife, and I've been able to build this partnership with her together. Not only that, but we were actually able to build some twins. We got twins on the way, so huge news. We're very excited for that. But without further ado, I want to take the attention on to Kylie, and let's break down exactly what makes a great partnership and maybe what makes great partnerships not work so well. So that being said, she is a Black Hawk pilot turned entrepreneur, turned into one of the most awesome people I know. Kylie, without further ado, would you mind getting the audience up to speed a little bit about where you came from and where you're going from here?
Of course. No pressure to say I'm one of the most awesome persons because, I'm your spouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so born and raised in Idaho, from a very hardworking family. So from the very, very beginning, I was taught to work hard, and that will pretty much get you through life. So when I was 17, I joined the military again, just working hard. That's really all I knew. And that kind of led me down the path of being a W-2 employee or a federal government employee, and just really putting my head down and working hard to have a successful career in that path. And it was a great success. I ended up becoming a Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and that's actually where I met you, Matt, down in Alabama. And so we obviously connected through that commonality of having this difficult career and being able to talk about it and share all of the different aspects of that career path. And then you kind of brought to light maybe some different aspects, a bigger picture out of life. And that is becoming an entrepreneur and not working a W-2 and staying in that W-2 path for the rest of my life and being able to retire at 65. So working with you and having that partnership with you has really brought me out of my W-2 work hard mindset shell. And so now we have a business together, a family together, about to be a larger family together. And yeah, I'm excited to share that on this podcast.
Yeah, well, we're very honored to have you, and let's get into it a little bit, because it's one thing for us to talk about, the beginning, middle, and end of everybody's story, but what we don't really get an opportunity to talk about is the relationships you build along the way and who you partner with and who you grow with, because there are some people that, you may be really good friends with, but they don't have the same growth path as you, and they don't have the same goals as you. And that's kind of what we want to get into today, because you and I have had a really great experience on what that looks like, what the bad looks like, and what the good looks like. You come from a hardworking family, and, like you said, I love that you said you had your head down. It's really easy to get comfortable when you have a great job. So you mentioned being a Black Hawk pilot, and that's where we met, which was, don't get me wrong, it was a really great time, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. What were some of the experiences you had growing together, you and I, as we worked in the same industry, in the same field?
Definitely helped having a spouse in the same line of work as you, or just a partner in the same line of work. Because we could come home, we could talk about all the different aspects of flying, the cool things we did that day, study together, kind of have goals that were aligned together in that career path. So yes, it was awesome.
Yeah, so we didn't even know that we were working together, even though we were working together.
Yeah,
because we had dreams of things that we were going to become, as aviators in the military career field. And we would work on those things together and motivate each other and push each other. And it was really nice having a partner who understood what that was like and who understood the sacrifice and the dedication and the time spent, to achieving your goals. And I think that could be said about a lot of people. It doesn't have to be a spouse. It could be, a friend you have it with at work that shares the same experience, or a business partner that you're trying to build a company with. It all matters that you're finding somebody who shares the same vision and a path moving forward and wants to grow with you and
Yeah.
doesn't want to bring you down.
Yeah. But we all know that goals change. And I know you were the first one that kind of had your goals and your future path change. Can you talk a little bit about that? How you kind of went on from being an aviator to wanting something different?
That's actually a really great question, because this is something you had a hard time with, the hardest time, going from being a really hard worker and putting your head down to, hey, we're going to go out and do something on our own. So there came a point in my life where I looked around, and in order to climb the ladder higher, it required more time at work, more responsibilities, and to be honest, not being compensated for those things. It was just what was expected, which we were happy to do. We loved what we did, so we made that sacrifice. And I thought there had to be more, and it was so cool, because it was listening to a podcast just like this one at Bigger Pockets on what the possibilities could be. And they talk about real estate, and real estate has made more millionaires than any other industry out there. It's not hard. It's just hard work. And that's something we could relate to. And that's how we got our drive to move forward and take the plunge and take action. We talk about it on the show all the time. The biggest thing that you can do to make the most difference is take action. And that's what we did. So we bought our first house together, didn't know what to do with it or where we were going, but we bought our first house. And I think at this time, you still weren't even sold on the fact that we need to invest in real estate.
Little reluctant. I have this great stable job. Yes, it takes so much time out of my day, but I can have it forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you definitely helped me get on board to just different paths.
Yeah. So having that conversation of how do we, get there? How do we, take control of this vision we have and make it a reality? And it was a hard process, because we were fighting about it. We had disagreements on how we should go about doing it, analysis paralysis, like you name it, it was there. But one thing we had was we were doing it together. And by doing so, I vividly remember Brandon Turner talking about getting his wife into investing in real estate. And he said, and I remember it to this day, but he said something along the lines of, listen, honey, I read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It recalibrated my brain and changed my life. And I know it can do the same for you. I want you to read it. Even though you may be reluctant to do it, even though this is not something that might be important to you, just name your price. I will do whatever it is you want me to do. Just get it done.
I'm pretty sure you copied his exact words, because I remember being in our first house's bathroom doing tile work, listening to the podcast that I'm sure Brandon probably said that same thing when he had Wendy and Gary Papazan on talking about goal setting. And they talked about having your spouse not only listening to the podcast, but doing that one thing of reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
You said that you would do whatever I wanted you to do as long as I read that book. So I had you read the 5 love languages just to work on our relationship.
Very reluctant to do so, but I knew it was important, so I did.
So we both read the books, and it was honestly life-changing.
Life-changing, it was. I didn't realize how good the 5 love languages was. Like, it's something we read constantly. I know we've read it a few times together. It's so important, because it's one thing to listen to real estate books all the time or entrepreneurial or mindset books, but the 5 love languages really brought us really close together as a couple, because we could understand each other more. And that kind of goes with the theme of what we want to talk about today, is building great relationships. And that book built us a great relationship. Even though we already kind of had it before with our shared experiences as Black Hawk pilots moving forward, this got us even deeper. And it blew me away that, we could reach a level that we didn't even know was attainable before.
Yeah, and it really segued to our future, kind of into goal setting as well. So on Valentine's Day, maybe 2020,
yeah,
we decided to follow The One Thing. There's a book called The One Thing. We decided to follow all of their goal setting retreat material and sit down together and hash out what we want out of life. Like, we had a lot of changes coming. We wanted to get into real estate. We wanted to just start getting out of that W-2 mindset and into the Rich Dad, Poor Dad mindset. And so we had this goal setting retreat together, and yeah.
It allowed us to get the same vision going, because we had I would say a generic relationship, meaning we loved each other. We were great for each other. but we didn't know what our goals were in life. We didn't know what each other wanted to achieve. Like those were just things nobody really talks about. And there isn't a framework to have that conversation in. So yeah, we were both on board to say, you know what, if this is something we're doing, we need to come up with a plan because we're doing this together. So yeah, we had our first staycation Valentine's Day weekend, and we literally followed the One Things model for their goal couple setting retreat. We printed out all the documents and we committed to it for an entire weekend. And it was game changer. It was because we were able to get the thoughts of our head of what our goals, our dreams, and our passions were, and put it onto paper and see how we work together. Do you remember what some of those were?
Yeah. One of the things that came out of that goal setting retreat is that you really wanted to buy a plane. If we would have never talked about that in 10 years when we maybe had the money, the resources to buy a plane, and you went out and bought one, I would have been floored. Like we had never talked about it. You had never expressed that you wanted it. But since we had talked about it in that goal setting retreat, like I know what you want. It's on paper. You've wanted it for an extended amount of time. Yes, I would love to help you towards getting to that goal of buying a plane.
Yeah, exactly. And for you, I did not know that you wanted to have horses someday. So these are examples of dreams or passions that, things that we want out of life. But we also came together on the same goals and visions of how we see our future and how we're going to get to those goals. And we saw that path forward together with real estate. When we were writing down our goals, we shared the same financial independence, retire early goals, that they talk about. And we had no idea we were even on the same page until we went and took the action and made that goal setting retreat happen. And I got to tell you, it was wildly successful, and I appreciate you doing that because it really catapulted where we're at today. And I want to segue that into talking about doing that with our friends. It was so successful. We had our first real estate property. We were talking about it at work constantly, which you hear about all the time. I know like David Green would talk about it at work all the time when he was a cop and just talk about it with his friends. They couldn't relate to him anymore, but that's because, he was trying to envision his future and bring it into reality. And you do that by talking with others. And we were doing that with our friends. And they're like, what the heck are you talking about? The other pilots there at the at work. Anyway, what the heck are you talking about? What is this real estate? Like this makes no sense. And they are very capable type A personality people. They got their stuff together just like we did. But to hear goal setting and vision was just like a foreign language to us at the time and now to them. So can you talk a little bit more about how we took our goals and we talked outward and brought more people in?
Yeah, that was definitely a game changer for us because, again, we were aviators. Most of our friends were aviators as well. And that's, again, kind of just a very W-2 mindset. And as we were kind of drifting off the path towards entrepreneurship, we wanted our friends to at least understand what we were going through. And so we booked a whole weekend, invited all of our friends, paid for everything, set everything up, and just asked them to attend for the weekend to not only talk about goal setting, but talk about real estate and talk about our future together as friends. And that has been a game changer. So I think there were 4 couples total, and every single couple has invested into real estate since then. And instead of us getting together talking about mindless stuff, now we actually talk about meaningful stuff. Where do we want to be in 5 years? What are your goals?
Yeah, what do you want to do someday? Yeah, I vividly remember Jordan, if you're listening, he was like, who is this salesman guy want to talk to us about this weekend? Like, I don't got time for this. It was hilarious because now I couldn't imagine our life with our friends any other way. And the reason why I want to speak about this personally is for that exact reason. You don't know where your life is going to go without partnering with people and talking outward about your goals and your vision and figuring out what each other's strengths are, what each other's weaknesses are. And that was something you and I continued to learn along the way.
And I think having a collective group with you along the way that understands what you're doing is huge as well. Like we could have just tried to get a whole new friend group that was maybe more in tune with real estate or more along the lines of where we wanted to go, but we brought our friends up with us. And I think that was huge for all of us.
It was, because that's a great example of partnering with other people, which is so important. You can go it alone. Don't get me wrong. You can be successful, but when you start bringing others in and helping each other and identifying each other's strengths, because every one of our friends does something different, just like you and I do something different. And going over the models goal setting allowed us to identify where people were strong at, where people were weak at, and we really grew together. And we all, we found that we had some similar goals and some very different goals. But the similar goals, we all really wanted to invest in real estate, but we invest in real estate differently. Some of them have cabins, some of them have Airbnbs, some of them have regular rentals, and one of them even did the burn method, which was huge because we all have different goals and things that we want to do with our family, but we could agree on the path moving forward. This show would not be possible without the support from our local community. Because of you, we're able to share information from leading professionals like never before. That's why our sponsors at Boise Turnkey Investments and Your Stay B&B have teamed up with the Boise REIN Show. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, they help bring you all the insider information to get you started on your journey today. Back to the show.
One of the other things that aligned through that goal-setting retreat, I think there were 4 of you that wanted to buy a plane. So that was huge too, just thinking bigger, setting those bigger goals and seeing what things aligned.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you really want to connect to some of your friends, or some of your friends want to go further or grow with you, maybe consider do like a goal-setting retreat together, because you never know what you're going to find. We certainly didn't, and we'd been friends forever.
Yeah, and not only did we do that with our friends, we also did that with our parents. I don't know if you remember that or not,
Yeah.
but that helped us identify some of our parents' goals, how we could help them achieve their goals as well, and kind of where we could play into that and just help them succeed.
Yeah, and for them to help us too. And we never would have had any of those relationships where we've worked together if not doing these kind of things. And it keeps bringing us closer and closer together. It's like, I never thought I could find somebody who's going to be a Black Hawk pilot with me. Here we have it. Like, this is the dream outcome. Then I never thought I'd find somebody who also wants to invest in real estate with me. Boom, dream outcome. Then I never knew I'd be able to find somebody who wants to set goals and has a bigger picture for their future. Boom, never thought I could get any better than that. It's been incredible. So from here, tell us a little bit about where we went from there with, investing in more real estate, partnering with people, building a company.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things I did want to kind of touch on when you were just talking about that is our goals changed. Who we were changed, but we talked about that as the partnership progressed, and we changed together and had similar goals together. So it's not like you just told me to change and go this different path than I did. Like, we grew together and we talked about it and aligned our goals.
You bring up a good point, because what I want the audience to really know here is, like, if you ever read the book Traction or you follow the EOS model, like, you have the integrator and the visionary. And about this time is when you and I really found out, like, hey, Matt, you've got some wild ideas and you're going to push us into the ground. And I was like, man, Kylie, you're really good at telling me no, but, building that path forward for us. And I think this is when we really started to align and, like, you know what? There are going to be separate things that you do, and there are going to be separate things that I do that bring us up together, because we're going to capitalize on our strength. And this was part of the learning process. We read Rich Dad Poor Dad, we read The One Thing and a multitude of other books. But as we started to dive deeper and continuing our education, we realized that it is important to be together but separate.
Yeah, very true. Have our own separate things that we do within the business or within the partnership. And so going back to kind of the path that we were on, we were in the military. We did end up getting out of the military, just kind of talked through what we wanted to do after that. And that all revolved around real estate, because that was what our goals were in life, just to really be synergistic with everything real estate related. Mm-hmm. So we both got rid of our federal government jobs, and I became a lender. You became a realtor. We opened up a short-term rental management company and really just tried to dive deep into being full-time real estate professionals.
Yeah, because we didn't really know exactly what it is we wanted to do in real estate. There's so many things to do in real estate.
There's so many, yeah. So
that's why it's important to, like, set goals and talk about what your vision is and your passions.
Very true.
Yeah. So I know. So we had long-term rentals, we had short-term rentals, and there's a lot of shiny object syndrome. I wanted to start a drone company at one point.
Yeah, we tried flipping once.
Yep. So those things didn't really work out. But my point is, like, there's so many things to do. it's hard to identify with what you truly are passionate about. And doing the goal setting, that's when we really landed on short-term rentals. It's something that not a lot of people do. There's high ROI. We felt like we were pretty good at it. So can you talk more about how we stood up like the short-term rental management company?
Yeah. So the first property that we bought, we kind of did the method, but Burr Stir. So we changed it into a short-term rental. And we realized that again, like you said, the return on investment is a lot higher than we could have gotten as a long-term rental. So really we're thriving with that property. We enjoyed the hospitality aspect of it and kind of setting up the systems as a short-term rental. And then we had a friend approach us asking if we could manage theirs. And we did. It was a great success. And from there, our company has really just grown and grown intentionally because we've identified, like you said, that is our goal. Our goal is to really grow our business and have it flourish and have our investors flourish in that company as well.
Yeah, because we realized how powerful having partners are. This was one of our first experiences with partnering somebody else in real estate on a professional level. And I'm very grateful for them for entrusting us to, take their product, their properties, their portfolio and move it to the next level. And man, we took our work hard mentality and we really worked hard on some of those properties there in the beginning, to hustle and make this happen. So as we started building this business, there's so many things to do, especially with short-term rentals. It's a very active asset class, super active and very hard to do. And we were both trying to do everything. And we quickly realized that, let's take the experiences and the knowledge that we learned over the past however many years and really identify which areas we're strong at, which areas we're weak at, and take those separately together.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really identifying our lanes in the company and then assign other people lanes as well. Like we are not the best cleaners, nor do we have time to clean 20 properties. So we found team members that could also pick up their strong suit in their own separate lane as well. And then us together, again, like we started stepping on each other's toes, doing the same things.
We were both doing the cleanings. We were both doing the bookings. We were both building the listing. We were both we were both doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Wild West. And we're just going to work as hard as we can until this figures itself out.
We worked harder on our goals and our lanes and really identified who had what tasks.
Yeah. Yeah, because we found that it was a lot more efficient and easier if one of us were to just take something over. And I think one of the first things was you took over guest communications. And that allowed me to free up some time of I am not fighting back and forth on you're talking, I'm talking, you're talking, I'm talking. Now I could focus more on maybe doing something I'm more passionate about, maybe bringing in more business, And then it allowed you to say, okay, I have this one task that I'm doing really good at. What's the next thing we can do? It was cleaning. You and I were both cleaning. We would leave work. I remember at some of the properties at lunchtime, we had 1 hour. You and I would go and we would try to get a property cleaned and be back in time, just to make it happen. That's part of the hustle and taking action.
The Wild West.
So it was a lot of hard work, but we quickly realized that even though we had lanes that we were fulfilling, there were certain lanes that weren't getting filled because either both of us weren't good at it or both of us weren't passionate enough to make it happen. We were just working hard at getting it done. Can you talk a little about what it's like to fill another lane or another role that neither you and I could do?
The famous 3 words. There's actually 2 separate 3 words, but delegate to elevate and who, not how. I think is one of the books that we read and kind of the mindset that we were thinking about. And we knew that if we wanted to scale our business, we needed to not try to hold all of the balls that are ourselves. We needed to give up some lanes. So we hired our cleaning manager, Kimberly, on to really manage the whole cleaning program. We also hired a full-time maintenance personnel to not only stock the properties, but do all the maintenance stuff that short-term rentals require. And it really pushed us to the next level because not only could I focus on higher revenue generating items in my lane, but you could do the same in your lane.
Yeah, I want to break this down a little bit because I know we're talking about our specific company and what we have done in our experience, but this can relate to a lot of people because you and I both worked really hard to get to this level. And we plateaued there because we couldn't physically work any harder. And then we said, okay, we can't afford anything else, but we need to get more done. So that's when we separated and got into our own lanes. And that elevated us to the next plateau. And then there were too many lanes for us to manage. So then we brought other people who not how to manage some of those lanes, which got us to the next plateau, which is why partnering with people, goal setting, figuring out what your strengths are so important. So that's all great. We can give some really good examples, but I want to talk about some of the side effects building great partnerships have. And this is going to have us back up a little bit, but I've noticed that one of the symptoms of working well and sharing your goals with other people and partnering with people who want to do the same things and have the same vision as you do can lead to avenues that you may not have known were there. And I know this happened to you specifically, and I couldn't be more thankful for it. So can you go over a little bit of what I'm talking about?
Yes, and I love that you bring that up because one of the things you really mentioned was talking about your goals and sharing those with others because a lot of the times they do align with what other people have going on. So I started attending the Invest Her meetup, which is a local meetup in Boise, Idaho for female real estate investors. And there I met Amanda Rockroar. And again, we really connected as partners and we really shared the same type of goals. And she had asked me to be a co-host for the meetup. And so we partnered together on that. And that has really led into not only a great friendship, but also an accountability group and really a whole different friend group in real estate.
So you mentioned the accountability group. Can you tell me a little bit more about the growth that has experienced as like a little side quest that we didn't know was going to happen?
Yes, definitely huge. Again, sharing each other's goals. So there's 4 couples in that accountability group that, again, we really just, Amanda started for us with our friends that were in real estate as well. And that is a group that we meet bi-weekly and we just talk about each other's goals, help each other mastermind on maybe things that we're stuck at, but really just get together and get on the same page about where each couple is wanting to go in their business.
Yeah. And in doing so, we found that the commonality that our group has is the biggest strength is building businesses. So it turned from a real estate investment accountability group into a business accountability group. And I couldn't be more thankful because now we're growing in ways we never thought were possible.
And meeting so many more friends too.
Yeah. So I have some call to actions for everybody. Figure out what your strengths are, what your passions are. Be vocal about what it is that you want to do with others. It may feel awkward at first, but somebody is going to hear you say something that you're passionate about, and they're going to want to get involved a lot more than what you would think. And you're going to build some great friendships because of it.
And don't be afraid to be vulnerable and really be open about what you want.
Well, Kylie, thank you so much for coming on. I wish we could talk more about this because it is a very powerful tool, partnering with the right people who have the same vision moving forward. That being said, what is one actionable item that our listeners can take today that's going to get them closer to their goals tomorrow?
I got to kind of play off what we've been talking about, but really being open about your goals and talking to your spouse or your partner about where you want to go. Like, yes, we have a business together, but where do we want that business to go? Have we written that down? Have we written down actionable steps to actually achieve that goal in the future? Like, make time for yourself, make time for your goals, and make time for your partner's goals as well.
Yeah, that's a great example because I feel like we have grown so much more in the past 3 years than we did any time before that. And it doesn't have to be business related. It could be family related. It could be traditional related. It could be spiritual related. But you're not going to know these things unless you sit down and you have these conversations with your partner and wanting to grow with them. And the benefit of it is that you find you do share a lot of these same things and you want to work together towards them, which ultimately brings you closer together, you and your business partner closer together, you and your friends closer together. And I couldn't be more thankful for sharing this experience with everybody around us.
It's been awesome being a partner with you.
Awesome. Well, that being said, Kylie, if people want to reach out to you about maybe Invest Her or goal setting or just partnering up and picking your brain, how can they reach out to you?
So on Instagram, it's Kyli Osojnicki, which I'm sure you'll link in the notes, but also Your Stay B&B on Instagram. And then on Facebook, we do have an Invest Her Boise chapter. And again, it is only for ladies. So if you are a male, we're going to decline your request, but we can still talk.
Awesome. Well, Kylie, thanks again for coming in. It was a pleasure having you, and let's do some more growth together.
Sounds good.